Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
So we really appreciate your patience. Would want you to introduce yourself, and then the members will also introduce themselves, and thereafter we'll give you a chance to make a presentation that you've prepared. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I am Felix Tamblas, Commissioner General of MRA.
Good morning, Chairperson and Honorable Members. I'm Alan Nkoma, Deputy Commissioner General.
Good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members. My name is Mufo Shikaoneka, and I'm the Director of Finance.
Good morning, Chairperson and the honorable members. My name is Patrick Kachingwe. I'm Acting Commissioner of Customs and Excise. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. My name is Messenger Omole. I'm the Deputy Director in the Policy Planning and Research Division. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. My name is Abigail Kawamba. I'm the Executive Assistant. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairperson and honorable members. My name is Joseph Konje. I'm the Head of Modernization.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. My name is Wilma Chalulu. I'm the Head of Corporate Affairs.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members. I'm Innocent Bamos. I'm Deputy Commissioner, Customs and Excise, Business Support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have some representation from your Parliament Ministry. So perhaps those that have come from the ministry, introduce yourselves, please.
Good morning, Chairperson and members. I'm Titogoze Samuel from Ministry of Finance, Deputy Budget Director.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. My name is Jolim Jojo from the Ministry of Finance. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson and all members. I'm James Magwenda from Ministry of Finance.
Thank you very much. So let me have the pleasure of having the members introduce themselves. We'll start from the far end. Come this way.
Through Chair, my name is Arini Mambala, Member of Parliament for Baraka Mulungusi. Thank you.
And through Chair, my name is Noel Olipipa, Member of Parliament for Blantyre, Chiromoni, Kabulana and Cholo constituency. We am their Member of Parliament as an institution.
Good morning, Chair. My name is Fisiani Nyondo, Member of Parliament for Chitiba Centre. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning, Chair. This is Yang P, representing the people of Lilongwe East. Thank you so much.
Through you, Chair. Good morning. My name is Vuka Matemvu, representing the people of Mulanje South East constituency. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. My name is Winston Kamabanjira, Member of Parliament for Lilongwe Chiwambo constituency. Thank you.
Chair and all members, my name is Geoffrey Onseo. I'm the MP for Chikwawa North. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, representing the people of Lilongwe Mpeno, this is Eisenhower Mkaka.
Chair, this is George Million, Member of Parliament, Palombe Machemba. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, good morning. My name is Gerard Tasa Okadala, representing the people of Blantyre Central constituency. Thank you.
Chair and all my seniors, I'm Queen Mulanje Nkando, Mulanje West.
Chair, through you, I am Amina Gajia, MP for Zombas Sondoli. Thank you.
Good morning, through Chair. My name is Susan Tosi, Member of Parliament for Chikwawa West. Thank you.
Through Chair, my name is Emily Chintupiri, representing people of Nkatabe South constituency and Vice Chair for Budget and Finance Committee. Thank you.
And I'm Sosten Alfred Gwengwe, Member of Parliament for Lilongwe Msozi, co-chair of this cluster. We do have a few members from the, I would still say Secretariat, if you can just also introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. I'm Louis Loti. I'm heading the Parliamentary Budget Office. Thank you. Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. I'm Sangani Piri, Chief Budget Analyst. Thank you. Chairperson, I'm Longani Kabich, Parliament Secretary.
Thank you, and welcome once again, CG and your team. I also want to thank you, CG, and commend you that when Parliament really asks you to appear before it, you come full squad. That's not taken for granted. We really want this kind of interaction, so we work together that strongly. So I want to thank you, your deputy and all your deputies and the whole team. Please keep that one up. Allow me to give you a chance now that you do the presentation and the honorable members will come in after you've made your case. Thank you, CJ.
Many thanks, Honorable Chairperson, honorable members. First of all, allow me also to thank you, Honorable Chairperson and members, for inviting us to your cluster, to the two committees, to make a presentation. We don't take this opportunity for granted. It is our pleasure and privilege. We have prepared a presentation, Honorable Chairperson, that will be done by two individuals. The first part will be done by Madam Mese Njolomole, who is our Deputy Director of Policy Planning and Research. And the second part will be tackled by our Director of Finance, Mr. Mufolo Chikaoneka. Allow me therefore, Chair, at this juncture, to invite Ms. Njolomole to take the first part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CG. Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, on behalf of the Malawi Revenue Authority, I wish to thank the committee for the opportunity to present our performance to date and the planned activities for 2026 and the proposed budget for the same financial year of 2026-2027. Honorable Chairperson, allow me to briefly outline the structure of this presentation. It is organized in 5 sections. The first section, we're going to look at the institutional foundation of the Malawi Revenue Authority, which is our mandate, vision, mission, functions, and the governance framework. And second, we're going to look at the revenue performance, the collections to date, and the performance against the approved targets. Then third, we're going to look at the outlook for the remainder of the 2025-2026 financial year, including what is required in March to close the year. Fourth, then we're going to look at the strategic focus areas. These are the planned activities for the 2026-2027 financial year. And finally, the Director of Finance will take the committee through the proposed budget for the 2026-2027 financial year. Honorable Chairperson, with your indulgence, I'll proceed to address the mandate, vision, mission of the Malawi Revenue Authority. MRA derives its mandate from the MRA Act of 1998. This is the legal foundation of our work. Every assessment, every enforcement action, and every collection is grounded in this statutory authority. Our vision as an organization is to be a modern revenue administration known for service excellence, while our mission is to collect revenue and facilitate legitimate trade for national development. Honorable Chairperson, this defines who we are, the authority under which we operate, as well as the direction we are pursuing. Honorable Chairperson, the following are the core functions of the Malawi Revenue Authority as provided for under the law. First, the authority administers and enforces tax laws. This includes assessment, collection, and ensuring compliance with all revenue legislation. Second, we promote voluntary compliance. The objective is to ensure that taxpayers meet their obligations correctly and on time without enforcement intervention. Third, we counteract tax fraud and other forms of tax evasion. This involves auditing, investigating, as well as conducting enforcement activities to protect government revenue. The fourth function is to improve the standards of taxpayer service. When it comes to the improvement of standards of taxpayer service, the Revenue Administration must balance enforcement with service delivery to the taxpayers. Fifth, the authority advises the Minister of Finance on revenue policy and tax administration. What this means in practical terms is that the experience we gain from administering tax laws, including areas where compliance challenges arise, where loopholes exist, or where procedures may be unclear, this is formally communicated to the Minister to ensure that policy decisions are informed by operational realities. Finally, we perform such other functions in relation to revenue as the Minister of Finance may direct in accordance with the law. Honorable Chairperson, these functions collectively define the operational scope of the Malawi Revenue Authority. In terms of the governance structure, at the apex, we have the Minister of Finance, which provides policy direction and oversight over revenue administration. Then we have the MRA board, which operates under the Minister of Finance, but is responsible for strategic direction, strategic oversight of the authority. What this means is that the board ensures that MRA operates within its legal mandate and approved strategic framework. So, Honorable Chairperson, the structure therefore reflects policy oversight by the Minister of Finance, strategic oversight by the board, and the operational execution by the authority, with reporting accountability to both the board and the Ministry of Finance. Honorable Chairperson, as you might be aware, MRA is headed by the Commissioner General, who is assisted by Deputy Commissioner General. And then in terms of our structure, we have two broad categories. We have the revenue divisions and the business support divisions. Under the revenue divisions, we have domestic taxes, which is responsible for administering internal taxes, such as domestic VAT, corporate income tax, and etc. And then we also have customs and excise division, which administers international trade taxes at the border. Supporting these are the business supporting these revenue division are the business support divisions, which include tax investigation, modernization, all the way to the Institute of Tax Administration. So, in a nutshell, Honorable Chairperson, the revenue divisions drive collection directly, while the business support divisions provide the technical governance, risk management, ICT, and administrative backbone necessary for effective revenue administration. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, I now turn to revenue performance for February, the month that just ended 4 days ago. For the month of February, MRA had a target of 304.74 billion, but MRA collected 313.66 billion. This translates to a performance of 103% against the monthly target. And in terms of growth, when compared to a similar month last year, we achieved a nominal growth of 42%, which is indicating significant year-on-year improvement for the month. So, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, cumulative to date, that is starting from April 2025 to February 2026, revenue performance reflects sustained effort under constrained macroeconomic conditions, including slower economic growth and import compression. But despite the prevailing economic constraints, cumulative collections from April 2025 to date, which is February 2026, stand at 4.06 trillion against a year-to-date target of 3.99 trillion. This represents a positive variance of 62.25 billion. To put this collection in context, we move on to how we've fared against the annual target. Cumulative to date, as I mentioned earlier, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, we have collected 4.06 trillion against, but if we're to compare that to the annual target of 4.32 trillion, performance is 94%, which means for the remaining month, which is this month of March, we are expected to collect 6%, which is 263 billion. Broken down per division, domestic taxes has collected 3.05 trillion, which is a performance of 95% against its annual target of 319 trillion, which means that the variance to achieving the annual target for domestic taxes is 146 billion. On the other hand, Customs and Excise Division, they've collected 1.01 trillion against a target of 1.13 trillion, which is a performance of 90% against its annual target, and variance to the annual target is 117 billion. Looking ahead to March, even though we're already in March, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, the target for this month was set at 350.59 billion. This is broken down as follows. Domestic taxes department is expected to collect 251.65 billion, while Customs and Excise Division is expected to collect 98.95. So the performance of this final month will determine whether we fully achieve and exceed the annual revenue target of 4.32 trillion. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, I now turn to the prospects for March. This chart shows the month-to-month nominal revenue collection from April to March across 4 financial year, 2022-23, 23-24, 24-25, and the current year of 25-26. The light blue line, the line at the top, represents the monthly collections for 2025-2026 financial year. And if you may notice, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, the dotted line is just to indicate that that is just the projection from March up to April, which is which are area mentioned to be 350.59 billion. So a few observations on this chart. The current financial year is consistently performing above the previous 3 years in almost every month. We see strong peaks in July, October, and January, which align with seasonal payment patterns. And historically, March collections tend to strengthen due to final corporate income tax settlements, year-end compliance enforcement, as well as clearance of outstanding obligations. Based on the historical patterns and current trajectory, the March target of 350.59 billion is ambitious, but within reach, provided compliance momentum is sustained. Honorable Chairperson, and honorable members, as the authority, there are several strategies that we are going to conduct to ensure that we finish strong in this 2025-26 financial year. First, we are going to enhance fiscal inspections and documentary checks, particularly within the customs operations, to address undervaluation, misclassification, and leakages at points of entry. Second, we are going to intensify debt enforcement and exchange programs within the large taxpayer office, Blantyre Station, Longwe Station, Zuzu, and Zomba stations, targeting high-value outstanding arrears. Third, we are going to escalate enforcement action on our outstanding audit assessments, including follow-ups on confirmed liabilities to accelerate conversion of assessments into actual cash collections. And then the authority is also going to engage with MDAs to enforce settlements of outstanding tax liabilities, including coordination with the Accountant General to improve compliance within the public sector. Fifth, the authority is going to strictly adhere to the charging of penalties and interest in line with the Tax Administration Act to reinforce timely filing and payment compliance. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, these measures are focused on immediate cash realization, compliance enforcement, and protection of the revenue base in the final month of the financial year. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, before I walk the committee through the planned activities for 2026-2027, allow me to clarify the framework guiding our 2026-2027 planned activities, which at high level we are calling strategic focus areas. So our strategy, or our corporate strategic plan, is structured under the 4 balanced scorecard perspectives. This ensures that we do not focus only on the revenue outcomes, but address the full chain that drives performance. The 4 perspectives of the balanced scorecard are interlinked. First, we have the financial perspective. Some will call it the revenue perspective, depending on the type of organization it is. This perspective defines the revenue outcomes we must deliver, which is sustained mobilization, improved performance against targets, and the fiscal contribution to government. Second, we have the customer experience perspective, because we understand that revenue performance is ultimately driven by taxpayer behavior. So the authority places improving service delivery and public trust as 2 elements of paramount, as 2 as two elements which are very, very important to ensure that we strengthen voluntary compliance, which would directly affect our financial outcomes. Third, we have the internal business process perspective. This just focuses on strengthening our operational systems, controls, and efficiency, because we understand that without strong internal processes, revenue performance cannot be sustained. And fourth, we have the organizational capacity perspective. This addresses our people, infrastructure, and institutional capabilities. Under this perspective, we're looking at systems and compliance strategies that, let me take that again, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members. We understand that systems and compliance strategies can only work if the institution itself is capable and properly resourced. So the logic is deliberate. So, organizational capacity enables strong internal business processes. Strong internal business processes improve customer experience. Improved customer experience strengthens compliance, and stronger compliance drives financial performance. So these four perspectives therefore form the foundation of our 2026-27 operational direction. I'll now begin with the financial perspectives as reflected in this slide. So under the financial perspective, the authority is aiming to achieve two objectives. The first of which is to strengthen revenue mobilization and sustainability. This objective aims to boost revenue by improving collection efficiency, expanding the tax base, strengthening enforcement, reducing leakages through data-driven systems. The intended outcomes are as follows: increased and predictable domestic revenue inflows, reduce revenue leakages, enhance fiscal sustainability, a widened tax net, as well as higher levels of voluntary compliance. So in order for us to achieve this, the authority will implement the following strategies: enhance revenue collection strategies, accelerate recovery of outstanding arrears and disputed revenues, intensify compliance enforcement and seal revenue leakages, expand and diversify the tax net across all economic sectors. The second objective under this perspective is optimize revenue utilization and fiscal accountability. So this, our focus on this one is on prudent spending, efficiency, and strong accountability in the use of resources. The following are the intended outcomes: reduce cost of revenue collection, improve return on investment, strengthen fiscal discipline, transparency, and accountability. And the key initiative under this objective is to improve resource utilization and cost management. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, I now move to the customer experience perspective, which is the second pillar under the balanced scorecard framework. This perspective focuses on how the authority is perceived by taxpayers and stakeholders, and how that perception translates into voluntary compliance. So the first objective, which is overall the third objective, is enhanced service delivery, public trust, and taxpayer education. And under this objective, we seek to reinforce the authority's public image by elevating taxpayer awareness and overall satisfaction. The following are the intended outcomes: improve taxpayer satisfaction and trust, enhance public perception of the authority, increase voluntary compliance, as well as increased taxpayer awareness. To achieve this, the authority will enhance taxpayer experience and service delivery, will develop and implement an integrated mass communication, outreach, and taxpayer education framework, as well as improve and maintain the authority's public image. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, the underlying principle here under this perspective is straightforward. When taxpayers understand the system, experience efficient service, and perceive fairness, compliance improves. And the fourth objective is strengthen stakeholder engagement and collaboration. This aims to foster structured partnership that enhance collaboration with both internal and external stakeholders. The following are the intended outcomes: stronger collaboration between the authority and its stakeholders, improve policy alignment and social legitimacy, more impactful internal communication. The key initiative under this objective is to enhance internal and external stakeholder engagement and collaboration. Honorable Chairperson, this perspective recognizes This perspective, which is the customer experience perspective, recognizes that revenue administration is not undertaken in isolation. It requires cooperation across government institutions, the private sector, and the public. I now move on to Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, and I'll move to the internal processes perspective. This perspective focuses on strengthening our internal systems, controls, governance structures, and operational efficiency to support sustainable revenue performance. So the fifth, which is the first objective under this perspective, is improve operational efficiency and governance. The aim is to strengthen systems and use innovation to streamline processes while reinforcing governance for efficient and transparent service delivery. The intended outcomes are increased operational efficiency and productivity, strengthen accountability and internal controls, improve decision-making across the organization, increase adoption of innovation and automated systems. To deliver on this objective, the authority will strengthen corporate planning and evaluation to ensure strategic alignment across all functions, enhance investment portfolio and procurement management, drive enterprise-wide modernization and digital transformation, enhance research, data management, analytics, and business intelligence capabilities, strengthen oversight, risk management, and compliance frameworks. Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, I now move on to the last perspective, which is the organizational capacity perspective, which focuses on building the institutional strength required to sustain performance over the medium to long term. The sixth objective, which is the first objective under this perspective, is to improve workforce planning and skills development. This objective focuses on building a future-ready workforce through skills development, continuous learning, as well as structured succession planning. The following are the intended outcomes: enhance staff competences and technical expertise, and establish leadership pipeline through succession planning. To achieve this, the authority will develop and implement structured capacity building and professional development programs. And then we have another objective under this perspective, which is to enhance staff welfare and corporate culture. This objective aims to foster an engaged and motivated workforce through staff welfare programs, recognition, performance management, as well as the promotion of integrity. The following are the intended outcomes: improved staff morale and motivation, strengthened culture of integrity and ethical conduct, increased employee engagement and organizational commitment, a stronger performance culture and accountability framework. The strategic initiatives to achieve this objective include revamping staff welfare, wellness, and engagement programs, promoting innovation, recognition, inclusion, ethical conduct, and integrity, strengthening performance management system. The final objective is to improve institutional infrastructure and adequacy of modern working tools. This objective focuses on investing in modern technology-enabled infrastructure and working tools to improve operations and service delivery. The following are the intended outcomes: improved functionality and reliability of facilities, strengthen institutional sustainability and service capacity. And the key initiatives are as follows: investing in modern and strategic infrastructure, upgrading tools, and improving the work environment. Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, these organizational capacity priorities will ensure that the authority has the people, systems, infrastructure, and the culture necessary to deliver on its revenue mandate sustainability. This concludes the first part of the presentation, and at this point, I would like to hand over back to the Commissioner General. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members. Without much ado, I will ask the Director of Finance to take the second part. Thank you.
Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Members, considering the strategic objectives and the planned initiatives as outlined by my colleague Mason, and also taking into consideration the aspirations of government as outlined in the national budget, the budget for MRA for the next financial year seeks to build the capacity to effectively implement reform initiatives. It further seeks to build the capacity to strengthen revenue mobilization and sustainability. It further seeks to build the capacity to effectively respond to emerging and future business demands. And it also seeks to optimize enforcement activities to curb tax evasion and smuggling. I should mention that the tax enforcement is not designed to be a policing, but also to handhold the taxpayers so that they are able to comply voluntarily. The budget also seeks to build capacity to effectively implement the new tax measures as announced by the Minister. Chairperson and the honorable members, the budget for the next financial year has got 4 major categories. These are driven by the projected tax collections, which are estimated at 6.07 trillion. You may notice, Honorable Chairperson, that this figure is somehow different from the figure that was reported in the chamber by the Honorable Minister, but this is due to other taxes that are collected by other entities, like road tax and the road levy. But the target for MRA out of the 6.2 trillion is 6.07 trillion. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, out of this, we are expected to collect the whole amount and thereby earn 3% retention, which translates to 182 billion. And we also expect standard income from fees that we charge, like process fees and the destination fees, to amount to 39.4 trillion. In total, Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, we expect our income to grow by 39.8% to close at 221.6 billion. In realizing that tax administration is mainly the function of systems, people, and the equipment to facilitate operations, we have separated our budgets into 4 categories. One is the operating expenditure, where we are anticipating that the personnel expenditure will total 87.995 billion, representing 37% increase from the projected actuals for the current financial year. This is mainly due to the impact of the changes in staffing that has been done in the current financial year in terms of the promotions and some recruitments, but also we tend to recruit additional staff to cater for new separate offices and also to increase enforcements in the new initiatives. We also project or estimate other recurrent transactions to total 104.15 billion, representing 48%. And our expectation is that we will close the year with a total operating and financing expenditure of 192.42 billion, an increase by 42.3%. This will result us in registering a surplus of 29.2 billion, which we are going to use to now invest in equipment and infrastructures and also in modernization that will help us to prepare for the future. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, on a development expenditure, which is mainly to prepare us for the future, the total estimate for next financial year is at 72.63 billion. And out of this, we would like to spend 23.34 billion towards capital expenditure, mainly to do with motor vehicles and the computer equipment. On modernization, we estimate a total of 47.66 billion, and we want also to repay our current loans at 1.6 billion. When we consider the requirement of our modernization expenditure at 72, with the surplus that we are projecting to close with during the year of 29.22 billion, we have a deficit. And this deficit is to be financed by balances that we are carrying forward from current financial year, amounting to 21.73 billion. And also we expect 12.57 billion to come from donor partners. However, the total closure for next financial year is projected to close with a deficit of 959 million. Chair and the honorable members, let me take you through the capital expenditure, which I highlighted as totaling to 23.34 billion. The many allocations to replace and also add our fleet, because the fleet is not adequate now, and we would want to add more vehicles and also to replace the old fleet. And the total estimated for next financial year is standing at 5.9 billion. We are also planning to maintain, rehabilitate our offices and also build new offices, and the total is amounting to 6.24 billion. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, due to aging computer equipment and also the additional people that we intended to employ, we have planned to procure computers amounting to 4.68 billion, and the other equipment like printers at the 3.65 billion, and the software at 49 million. We also intend to purchase air conditioners and generators at 1.65 billion, and the office furniture to replace the old ones, and also for the new staff that we intend to recruit at 1.18 billion. Chair and the honorable members, details of the modernization projects that we have planned for next year that will help us to deliver our services efficiently and also to prepare for the future. The main ones is data center infrastructure enhancement. You might have noticed that sometimes our systems are down, and that renders our functions also, and also the taxpayer business inefficient, because sometimes our systems are off and they are also very slow. We therefore intend to invest much on our data center so that we improve the computing power. And in that way, we are investing in convergence infrastructure, which is costing us 16.7 billion. And we also wanted to prepare for the new Sonko line. We are starting next financial year to prepare for that due to the aging technology of the current system, which will result in us spending 3.39 billion. Land income, though it's not a new tax, but we wanted to enhance its compliance, and in so doing, we have planned a number of activities that will be done, including the hand-holding of the taxpayers, so that they should understand and start complying voluntarily. For that, we are planning to spend 3 billion. Chair and the honorable members, the total that will be financed by MRA towards the modernization projects is standing at 35.1 billion. And the 12.57 billion is expected to come from donor partners. These monies has already been confirmed by the donors, and the total for the modernization projects is standing at 47.66 billion. I should mention that out of the 35.1 billion that we are going to finance internally, about 22 are already available funds that will just come April, we will start spending. Chair and honorable members, this budget, in summary, assumes a gross tax revenue collection of 6.07 trillion. I think in your pack there is a billion, but it's just an error. It's 6.07 trillion, which results in tuition fees of 182.23 billion. The sundry income is projected to grow to 39.40 billion, and the personnel expenditure is estimated to cost. The personnel cost is estimated to grow by 37.0%, reflecting the full-year impact of recruitments and promotions that were made during the current financial year, and also an addition of 311 employees to help us in electronic invoicing compliance and new satellite offices, and also enhanced audits, as well as enhanced enforcement activities, just to mention a few of the strategic initiatives that my colleague mentioned in her presentation. The budget has also allocated 47.62 billion towards modernization expenditure, and it has allocated 6.24 billion towards construction, maintenance, and improvements of MRA buildings. Honorable Chairperson and the honorable members, the budget has also allocated 17.10 billion towards purchase of vehicles to enhance enforcement activities, purchase of computers and office equipment for the new staff, as well as replacement of the old items, and the purchase of furniture for the new staff and the replacement of the old furniture. I now hand over to Commissioner General, CG,
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. With your indulgence, allow me to thank the two presenters for the elaborate presentation. I now hand over to you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, CG, and your team. The members have been sitting for quite some time. We thought we would break maybe for 5-10 minutes. You're allowed to just grab a cup of coffee, bring it here, it's okay. But we would want to have a 10-minute break, and then we'll go to plenary thereafter. Thank you.
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.